What if Adam was not the first human being? What if, before our creation, God had created other beings on this very earth, and then erased every trace that they had ever existed? History does not even remember their names. But perhaps the Book of Enoch preserved the final trace of a world that was never meant to be discovered. Welcome to Project Awakening. Today, we open the case of what may have existed on Earth before Adam, and why it was erased from history. Before we begin, Project Awakening needs your support. Write your theories in the comments. I read them and I respond. Like the video, subscribe, and join this investigation. But before we open this erased chapter, we need to know who the man behind the book's name was. Enoch is one of the most mysterious figures in ancient texts. According to the Book of Genesis, he lived in the 7th generation after Adam, and several generations before Noah. He is said to have lived for 365 years. But unlike the other figures of that era, his story does not end in death. The text gives only one strange line about him. Enoch walked with God, then he was no more, because God took him. The book that bears his name is a collection of visions, journeys through the heavens, and secrets concerning angels, watchers, cosmic prisons, and a catastrophe that changed the fate of Earth. Scholars believe this book was written and compiled centuries later by several authors across different periods. So we cannot say with certainty that Enoch himself wrote it. But why did ancient writers place these secrets under the name of a man who was said never to have died, but to have entered heaven alive? To answer that, we first need to establish one important fact. The Book of Enoch never directly says that, before Adam, a human civilization of cities and kings lived on Earth. If someone makes that claim, they should be able to show the chapter where it appears. But what Enoch actually describes may be even stranger than a lost civilization. In its world, Adam is not the beginning of intelligent life. He is only the beginning of the human lineage. Before the first human rose from the dust, there was already a world of intelligent beings, laws, hierarchies of power, gateways, and prisons. A world humanity did not build, and was not even meant to fully understand. That difference changes everything. The creation story in Genesis moves very quickly. Light, the sky, dry land, plants, animals, and then humanity. But at the moment humanity is created, God suddenly speaks in the plural. Let us make man in our image, after our likeness. Who were this us? Religious interpretations offer different answers, from a plural of majesty to God speaking before a heavenly council. But Genesis does not show us the meeting. It only announces its result. The Book of Enoch enters precisely into that missing space. In Enoch's universe, heaven is not an empty and uninhabited space. It is a living, ordered structure. There are angels who oversee the movement of stars, the winds, the seasons, and the forces of nature. There are gates for the rising and setting of heavenly bodies, places where spirits are held and dungeons for beings who defied the order assigned to them. One group of these beings is called the Watchers. Their name reveals their mission. They were meant to watch, not to rule, not to unite with human beings, and not to give us knowledge that was forbidden to us. So one possible answer begins to emerge. Humanity did not enter an empty world. It entered a system whose laws, observers, and limitations already existed. But here, there is an important problem of timing. Chapter 6 of Enoch says that 200 watchers descended upon Mount Hermon in the days of Jared, one of Adam's descendants. That means the famous rebellion of the Watchers did not happen before Adam. It happened several generations after him. This detail matters because it marks the boundary between the text and speculation. Enoch does not say that the Watchers built a civilization on earth before Adam. It says that they existed before humanity, had a mission, understood a structure of power, and then entered our world. Led by Semyaza, they swore an oath on Mount Hermon to break their covenant. They chose human women, united with them, and produced children the text describes as destructive giants. But their greatest sin was not only this union. They brought something more dangerous to earth: information. Azazel taught humanity how to make swords, armor, and weapons of war. Others taught enchantments, the knowledge of plants, the signs of the stars, the paths of the moon, and secrets that, according to the story, humanity was not yet ready to receive. In this story, knowledge is not a harmless gift. It is like fire placed in the hands of a child before a vessel has been built to contain it. And the result was not the slow progress of civilization. The earth filled with violence. The giants consumed humanity's resources and then turned against humanity itself. The boundary between heaven, earth, human beings, and non-human beings was broken. The order that existed before Adam was now collapsing at the hands of the very observers who were meant to protect it. This is where the idea of a world before Adam takes on another meaning. Perhaps what was erased was not an unknown race. Perhaps it was an earlier version of the world's order, a world in which humanity was not considered the only intelligent presence on earth, a world in which heavenly beings could enter our realm. A world in which knowledge moved from above to below, and a world in which the distance between the Creator, the observers, and the created was far smaller than the later stories allowed us to remember. Then the order to cleanse was given. In chapter 10, God commands Raphael to bind Azazel, cast him into darkness, and bury him beneath jagged rocks. Gabriel is ordered to turn the children of the Watchers against one another. And Michael is commanded to imprison Semyaza and his companions until the day of judgment. And then the flood comes. In the common telling, the flood is a punishment for human wickedness. But in the Book of Enoch, it feels more like a containment operation, an attempt to erase the consequences of unauthorized contact between two levels of creation. The bodies of the giants are destroyed, but their influence does not disappear completely. Enoch says that the spirits of the Watcher's children remain on earth after death and become evil spirits. Which means that even a reset of the world could not erase every product of the experiment. And this is exactly where the ancient story suddenly begins to resemble the fears of the modern world. Imagine that we create an artificial intelligence and place it inside a controlled environment. We define its rules. We determine its level of access. And we assign a group of observers to control it. Now, imagine that the observers themselves break the protocol. They introduce forbidden information into the system. They establish direct contact with the beings inside it. And they create something new, something that belongs neither fully to the world of its creators, nor fully to the world of its creations. What do we do if that new being becomes uncontrollable? We shut the system down. We erase the data. We quarantine the agents responsible. And we launch a safer version. To the modern mind, the story of Enoch bears a strange resemblance to a report of a cosmic security breach. The Watchers were administrators with high-level access. Forbidden knowledge was protected data. Their children were the result of merging two incompatible systems. The flood was a massive reset, and the prison of the Watchers was a quarantine designed to continue until a specified day. This resemblance does not prove that we live inside a simulation, just as the language of angels and heaven does not, by itself, prove that ancient writers witnessed advanced technology. But it does reveal one thing. For thousands of years, humanity has been speaking about the same fear, the fear of the created being that the truth of its world has been hidden from it, and the fear of the Creator that its creation might gain knowledge too early, knowledge that can never be taken back. But why was this part of the creation story almost erased from public memory? Part of the answer is historical. The Book of Enoch was not included in the official canon of most branches of Judaism and Christianity. For centuries, complete copies were preserved primarily within the Ethiopian tradition. When Aramaic fragments of Enoch were discovered among the Dead Sea Scrolls, it became clear that this book was not a new medieval legend. Jewish communities of the Second Temple period knew it, copied it, and preserved it centuries before the formation of official Christianity. This discovery does not prove that every event in the book truly happened, but it does prove that this story was a real part of the ancient world of ideas before it was pushed away from the center of Western religious memory. Perhaps the reason is simple. Not every ancient text could enter the sacred canon. Disputes over authorship, date of composition, and religious authority determined the fate of many books. But there may be another possibility. Enoch makes the world too crowded. In the simple version of the story, God creates, humanity disobeys, and humanity is punished. But in Enoch's version, a network of intelligent powers exists between God and humanity. Some are loyal, some are rebellious, some teach, some punish, and some are imprisoned in unknown places. Evil no longer begins only in the human heart. Part of it becomes the result of interference by beings who existed before us and who introduced knowledge into civilization that changed its path forever. Such a story pulls humanity down from the center of creation. We are no longer the first intelligence. We are not the first rebels. And even many things we consider our own achievements may, according to this text, have reached us from somewhere outside human civilization. So, was there a civilization on Earth before Adam? The Book of Enoch gives us no direct evidence for that claim, but it creates a far more dangerous question. If humanity was not the first intelligent presence in this world, how much of the reality we now consider natural had already been designed before we arrived? Perhaps Adam was not the first inhabitant of the world. Perhaps he was its first user. And perhaps what was erased from history was not the remains of a city or the name of a lost race. Perhaps it was the memory of a system in which humanity knew that observers existed above it, and that some of those observers, one day, broke the rules. But the Book of Enoch claims they were not destroyed. They were only imprisoned in places humanity was never meant to find, until the day they are released again. And that is our next case.
History is written by the victors, but we awaken the truth. Welcome to the real world, uncensored and undistorted.